The Dallas Cowboys are off to a surprising start to the 2022 NFL season. After losing quarterback Dak Prescott in Week 1, their chances at a promising season looked grim. But thanks to the Cowboys' offensive line, running backs, and of course Cooper Rush, they are 6-2 coming out of their bye week. The biggest reason for the Cowboys' success this season, besides their defense, has been their running game, with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard carrying the load with Cooper Rush, and sometimes with Dak Prescott. But one thing is so blatantly obvious with this Cowboys team, and Jerry Jones keeps trying to hide it from everyone, so I felt compelled to make this video. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you remember correctly, during the offseason leading up to 2019, Ezekiel Elliott was holding out from Cowboys training camp. The then fourth-year running back was coming off another impressive year with the team, and he wanted his money. The Cowboys caved in and gave him a 6-year, $90 million deal. At the time, the contract extension made Elliott the top-paid running back, which leapfrogged Todd Gurley's $14.375 million per year, and he was the first Cowboys running back to eclipse the $100 million in total value. Since then, only 2 running backs have seen an annual salary of what Zeke got back in 2019. No one has topped that overall value of $90 million. Do you know why? Because NFL teams are figuring out that you don't give running backs that kind of money, and here's why. Insert Tony Pollard, the Cowboys' number 2 running back behind Ezekiel Elliott. The guy with the base salary of $965,000 in 2022. The guy that accounts for 0.51% of the Cowboys' salary cap. Tony Pollard has 31 less snaps than Ezekiel Elliott. So far, he has more rushing yards, more receptions, and more total touchdowns than Elliott through the first 8 weeks. So why do they continue to pound the ball with Zeke at certain points? Well, stick around to the end of the video so I can tell you my conspiracy theory on why they give Ezekiel Elliott more touches than Tony Pollard, even though it seems Pollard's the better back at this point. But first, we're going to talk about the difference between the two. The biggest thing you hear in the Elliott versus Pollard debate is that teams are more afraid of Zeke, that the brutal running style tends to lead teams to load the box. Well, that just isn't true. Elliott has faced an 8+ man box on 19.3% of his carries, while Pollard has faced them 27.2% of the time. If you read between the lines, it seems that teams are more afraid of Tony Pollard. While facing a heavier box, Pollard has had a higher success rate, with 43.5% of his runs being considered a success. He also has a higher RYOE, runs over expected, meaning giving the down, distance, blocking, and defense, Pollard is more efficient in picking up yards. His 2.37 run yards over expected actually leads the NFL. While he edges Elliott out in that stat, he does the same in EPA per play, meaning how much of an impact do you make on your team when driving down the field to score. Pollard has a 0.22 EPA, while Elliott's in the negatives with 0.58. One thing that Elliott does better than Pollard is pass blocking. We've never crowned Pollard as a great pass blocking back, but Elliott was coming out of college. He was considered the best blocking back we've ever seen, and that has pretty much held up throughout his career in a Cowboys uniform. He has been exceptional, and that skill hasn't diminished at all with his age. Before we continue with the video, I want you to tell me who the better back is right now, or should I say, who would you give the majority of the Cowboys carries to? Head down to the comments and let me know who the number 1 back in Dallas should be coming out of the bye week and beyond. If you haven't already, please drop a like on this video. Let's try to get to 500 likes. My first problem with this is I think the Cowboys need to stop trying to justify paying Zeke the $16 million per year. It's over, he's been paid. We know it was a bad contract and that you shouldn't give running backs that kind of money given the physical position that they play. So just stop trying to justify it. I'm not saying bench Zeke. I'm saying to stop having games where Pollard only touches the ball 8 times. It's criminal if he doesn't get 13 to 15 touches a game, especially if you're planning on running outside the tackles. Zeke just doesn't have that speed anymore, so use Pollard's to your advantage. So tired of watching Zeke go sideways for negative yards or 1 or 2 when Pollard seems to break those all the time. I also want to say this isn't a Zeke slander video, because I think he still has gas left in the tank and he loves this team more than anyone else. It's just obvious that Pollard is better at this point in his career, and everyone sees it but Jerry Jones and sometimes Kellen Moore. It's not Zeke's fault that he was paid that kind of money. It was a weird time in the running back market, and he saw the opportunity to make a staggering amount of money and took it. I have a hard time imagining that the Cowboys would be featuring Elliott as much as they do if the amount of money he was making was cut in half. So if you watch the entire video just to hear my conspiracy theory on why the Cowboys are really using Zeke more often than Pollard, here it is. They don't want the rest of the NFL to see that Pollard is as good as he is. That way, when he gets to the negotiating table, teams aren't going to outbid them because the stats won't be so inflated. I know, a far-fetched plan, but it makes sense to use the guy you paid the $90 million to in order to keep the younger, more explosive back. Well, younger and more explosive. Just a thought I had, and I wanted to share it with you all. Let me know down in the comments if that is completely crazy, or am I onto something? I hope you enjoyed the video. Click the one that just popped up on your screen right here. It's a video about how good Justin Fields has been up to this point. Let me know how you like it. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Go.